paper mache pumpkins using styrofoam pumpkins from the Dollar Tree and coffee filters. My name is Jersey. Let me show you how. And this is the one I did the other day when I showed you how to make the faux pumpkin stems and tendrils. This is so easy to make and it's very relaxing. Let me show you how. These are the orange styrofoam pumpkins that you get from the Dollar Tree. I popped the little tops off. They had a toothpick in them. And then I used folk art home decor chalk paint. You can also use folk art acrylic paint if you like. When I made this one, you could definitely see the orange under it. I didn't care for that. And even though we are using dyed coffee filters, I still wanted to cover up that orange. It was so bright. I didn't want that darkness of the hideous orange to show. I'm going to make two today. I'm gonna do one with the white. I already did one with the tan. This one was made with this. I didn't stain it. I didn't make it any darker. This is what this looks like. This is, I call the unbleached natural one. Then I'm going to do one in bleached white, and then I will do one where I dyed the white ones with some Rit orange dye. And I just took some Rit dye. You could take Kool-Aid, food coloring, and I just took several of these and put them in the container and stuck them in, wrong amount, and now they're just drying. They're different colors. When I put the first few in, I only used a half of a cap, and then I wanted them darker, so I added another quarter of a cap. So they're gonna be two-tone, and that's what I want. You can dye them also with natural dyes from plants, coffee, tea, walnut hulls. I have a video on that. Look up there, how to dye with walnut hulls. To begin with, either one you do. So I don't know how many it takes. It all depends how thick you want it. And I gradiated dyed them. So it goes lighter. I added more dye, put some other ones in, and made them a little bit different grades of color. I'm gonna save the two light ones for the top, so it gives it a little bit of color. Very simple. No matter what coffee filter you're using, you just want to tear them in strips. And be mindful, with this sharp edge, you always want to cover it with the torn edge. So you can do this while you're watching TV, and you want random shapes. You don't want to use scissors. You want that nice feathery look. You can do several at a time. And you want different sizes. You want larger ones and smaller ones. Let me go ahead and tear all up these, and the white ones, get a pile going, and when we come back I'll show you how to decoupage them on. Alright, so I have them all ripped, and I kept the two lighter ones separated because I'm going to use them toward the last application of the there goes the crows, of the coffee filters. You can do this two ways. I start with the bottom always, and I'm working on a Teflon sheet that I always use for crafting. You can either take your pieces and get them full of Mod Podge. I just tap the edges so it stays down. Or you can put Mod Podge directly on the pumpkin and then put a piece of coffee filter on. I don't like to do it because if you don't get it all, it's gonna double on it, so you have to lift. It's a mess. So this is the way I prefer to do it. Get a little water going. You don't have to thin it, but I like to. It's so thick right now, I don't need it that thick. And by doing it on the coffee filter, you're ensuring to get every piece. Now you want to make sure you don't go all one way or one way. You want to crisscross them every single time. You don't want to build them all going one way. And if it gets crinkled, I like that. It gives it a nice textured look. Get it all wet, get up immediately, and just use the brush just to pat it down. I like to put it right in the wet spot so it picks some of it up. Then you only need to do a little bit on the corners. Fill in that gap. Right now, I am not worried about the factory straight edge. I will get that as I start building up it. Right now, my main goal is to just have everything covered. And then as we build 2, 3, 4 layers maybe, I'm All depends how you like it. All depends what you're seeing underneath. But right now you don't need to worry about this factory edge. I'm gonna fast forward everything. I'm gonna stop talking and hopefully the crows will stop crowing. And then you can watch me as I build this up. Once this all gets covered, I'm gonna let it dry about 10 minutes and then I will start working about building up and covering the factory edges. So here we go. Then when you get to this part, you can flip it over. You're on a Teflon sheet. It won't stick or pull up. Otherwise, you'd have to wait in between it to dry. Now I cover up the hole because if I'm going to be using this that I showed you the other video how to make, I need a smaller hole. So this way I can cover it up and then I can punch my own hole where I want it to be. Now even that looks nice with the light white underneath. You can go ahead and keep building this and building this while it's still wet. Or you can go outside and take a walk, have a cup of coffee and let it dry and come back and start again. The only thing with it being so wet, the other ones are going to stick really well, especially on top. And now you just basically only have to start layering these because underneath is so wet. That's one advantage of doing it until it's completely done. But the first layer, I like to get all the coffee filters wet with the Mod Podge. This one, since everything is wet underneath, you can just start layering. And there's that straight factory seam right there. So this is a perfect piece for it. It's feathered on all four sides. Really nice. And if it's not wet enough, then you can wet it like we did to begin with. Just be mindful where your factory edge is. I like to cover it while I have it in my sights. And work your way around. Don't work all in one spot, even though it's tempting to. Build it up in layers. I'm gonna finish going around and covering this, and then when I get to the light colored ones, I'll be back and finish up with this little pile I have left. That's all I have left. And I'm gonna start covering all the factory edges, and I'm not gonna cover all the light colored ones because I do want some to be underneath. This goes pretty quick. It's a lot better on you if you can sit down at a table and do this. It takes around 30 minutes to put the coffee filters on. You don't have to do this all in one setting. I painted them yesterday, let them dry, came today, and then we're putting the coffee filters on. And I can tell this is where the light one was, so I want to feather it in, especially with the hard edge. And the light will be subtle underneath. It will show through the darker one. Even if you do have some hard lines showing, it won't be noticeable. You can dye these whatever color you want. There's a lot of Mod Podge crafts out there. Paper mache. You don't want to paint back and forth. You want to use a good brush and like stippling it. I had more than enough. I could have probably done with less coffee filters, but I'd rather have extra coffee filters than have to go back and dye some more. So now that they're all done, the most important thing to do, get your brush good and wet and go over all these edges that are sticking up right there. You don't want any pulling up like that. So now you just go over the whole entire pumpkin one time, or maybe two. Do the bottom for last. If you have to, you can use your finger. But be careful, this is at a stage where it could really rip and pull up. Be patient, let this dry thoroughly. Good hour, maybe two. Overnight would be best. And I like to kind of push in where the dipples are. That's where we'll be adding our string. And see, the more you touch it, the more it's gonna pop up. So just kind of eyeball it, give it a twirl, push down any ones that are popping up. Don't overthink it. It might not look really nice right now, but when it gets all done, I promise it'll be very, very nice. And let this dry. Leave this alone. This will peel right off, or you can wash off once this is dry. Don't touch it. I'm gonna go wash my brush. Very important, keep it clean and dry. Go eat lunch, and then we'll be back. And before we get started on everything, I'm gonna pull the spoon out and show you. I just finished this one, and I literally stuck the spoon down in the Mod Podge. Took the leftover piece from when I wrapped it around the pumpkin and wrapped it around this. But you're gonna have a tail when I do the orange one. I'm gonna show you in a minute. Make sure it's a plastic spoon. Watch my other video up there. It shows you how to make the stem and the tendrils. But that one I didn't show you how I just stick the spoon right in the Mod Podge. Here it is, all dry. Look how nice that is. See the different shading? I love that, where it's lighter underneath. Really, really nice. So the next step, you need to poke a hole in here. With that white pumpkin I just showed you, I'm gonna insert right now, when I went upstairs in my craft room, how I pick out stems. I'm gonna show you how I audition which pumpkin stem to use. I have these separated into shorts, medium size, and larger ones. I just like to audition it. I actually like that one. So I'm gonna keep that one. I'm going to use a stem that I made in the tutorial how to make a faux pumpkin stem. That's why I wanted this covered. That hole was too big. It would have been very cumbersome to get that in there. So knowing what size I have this end will tell me how big I should do my hole. So I went to my basket weaving supplies and I got my awl or ice pick. I'm gonna find about the dead center, and I just like to hold it and tap my hand on it. What you can do is you can go straight down. Hopefully it will come out the bottom right there. And that will hopefully give it a straight on shot. I'm gonna pull it out this way, find where it went in, and the bottom hole I do not like to leave big. I like it just to be enough for the threads to go through. This is the bottom. The top one, which is here, you can just take a pair of scissors or something, put it down in the hole, and just give a little twist and turn. One way, one the other way. Audition your stem. Perfect. I don't even have to glue it. That's going to be awesome. I went and measured exactly how much it takes to sew in the top, out the bottom, all the way around till all the seams are done. You need at least 5 yards. Don't skimp on this. And you will have a little bit left to do the tendril if you want to. Now, like hemostats, I find doll needles very valuable. This one I'm going to be using the 8-inch. One end make a very large knot so it will stay down in the bottom. I always start at the top every single time I go through this. If you can't find where the hole is, you can actually see the daylight coming through right here. Come through the top, look right through the daylight. Easy as that. And then we're gonna pull it slowly. And our goal is to lock this knot inside of the pumpkin. And there she goes. Every single time when you come out the bottom, you're gonna start right through the top. You started at the top and you're gonna go through the top again. Pull slow. You don't wanna get it knotted. Find a seam that you wanna cover with the thread or jute. Give a good tight pull. Take your thumb, hold it. You're always gonna hold the piece that you just finished. And that's it. I'm gonna go all the way around, and then when we come back, I'm gonna show you how to do the stem and how to finish it up. And here we are. Just pull the very last one from the top to the bottom. Put a knot in it, close to the bottom. This is the only time that you're gonna go from the bottom to the top. You're gonna pull it back in, and watch the knot as you pull tight. There, it's inside the pumpkin. And now you're just gonna cut it. And there you go, all knotted. For the white one, I'm going to use corn silk. For this one, I'm gonna use Spanish moss. So the first thing I'm going to do is pull my tendrils out. These were pre-made. And I can get 2 out of this. Cut it in half. Put that down in the hole. Then I'm going to take the bottom of the stem that I made and put it down until the rubber bands disappear. I will have to go back and take the glue off if it bothers me, but it doesn't really right now. You don't even have to glue it if you don't want to. I think this time I'm not going to. I like to leave it messy like this. Really love that look. So I pick up the tendril, tuck some underneath there. You can make some faux leaves, and you can either glue these on. I'm going to be doing a tutorial. This is beeswax. This is cinnamon, but it's sort of like the blackened wax. And that is done. How cute. Let me finish the white one, get it all done, and then I'll come back and I'll show you all 3 when they're finally done. And here they are, all completed. I think they turned out lovely. Here's number 1. That was done with the unbleached coffee filters. Number 2, that was done with the white bleach coffee filters. And number 3, that was done with the dyed coffee filters using RIT dye. This was a very fun project to make. You could break it up into a couple days if you wanted to do several like I did here. Leave a comment below. Do you like number 1, the brown, number 2, the middle white, or number 3, the one on the right, the orange? Thank you for watching. Please make sure you check out my craft playlist where I have been adding a lot more crafts to do and more will be coming. Thank you, and this is Jersey saying have an awesome day.